Hello and welcome to New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones. I am Laura Jones, and we're so glad to have you here. Today, we are at the APA Hotel in Woodbridge for BINJE's Best Top Women in Business event, where more than 300 leaders came together to celebrate incredible women from across the Garden State. During a panel discussion moderated by BINJE's managing editor, Linda Linder, one message really stood out, and that is if you want to succeed, you have to be clear and direct about what you want. I'm honored to have been recognized alongside so many inspiring women at this event.
I came up in a political organization that was promoting and elevating female elected officials before it was kind of the en vogue thing to do. And so because that was the organization I was part of, it never occurred to me that it couldn't be me, because I saw women like Diane Allen and Dawnette Eagle and Jean Stanfield who were being elevated. So I just feel like I had a very privileged experience, and I really is important to me always to reach back to young women. But one of my mentors once told me, I can open a door for you, but you have to have the goods and the hustle to walk through it and keep going, right? And so making sure that you do make asks, making sure that when somebody gives you an opportunity that you don't politely kind of, you have to go after it and have that hustle. But I've just been very fortunate to have people, a lot of them in the room today, to have helped me and rooted for me.
And, all three of you have said how, it's very important to have that support group behind you, right? Without that, you don't have the courage to go out and ask that question. You don't have the courage to bring a baby into a job interview. How would you tell people to get that group together? Like, who are those people that you found to be your biggest assets, like having your back all the time?
I had the best group of girlfriends. They are amazing. They are my biggest cheerleaders, and they would, step above a train for me. And a lot of them, I'm very fortunate. I have friends that I met in kindergarten and first grade, and we still are, we talk, and we went through high school and college, and everybody's different. We still talk. But I've made, in my adult professional life, amazing friends at events like this. Honestly, Chamber of Commerce events, NJBI events, other industry events. And they have just been the most incredible support system, because even though we work in different industries and have different positions, being in this world, having that confidant that can say, well, here's what I did when I had a situation like that. So I just think that female friendships are the biggest life hack and the biggest blessing that I had, and I could not do my daily life without my group of girlfriends.
Get your tush in the office. I mean, really. I have to say, truthfully, that's the answer. Look at the boss. If the boss is in the office, and you should get your rear in the office. If your colleagues are in the office, that's where stuff happens. That's where new ideas come from. That's where an assignment pops up. That's where somebody wants to tell you what's going on in their life. Listen, I'm not new to this, and I have people in my office who have kids, little kids, and all that stuff. And we Zoom twice a week, we have staff meetings and all of that. And it's fine, but it's not nearly the same. And so I would say if you're somebody who's only showing up 1 day a week, that's gonna impact you in terms of where you're going in life. And if you're someone who's 2 days a week, it's gonna help. And 3 days a week, it's gonna be better. And you all know that anyhow.
Yeah, and not in the office by yourself.
So, and not just being in the office, you have to, getting that water cooler and those collaborative relationships, but also going to things like this, I think so much, especially early on in your career, when I first started at the Operating Engineers, I had this small little narrow world as a campaign operative in one county. And so when I first started at age 25, we were a statewide organization, and I was everywhere. I think a lot of people saw me. I was at every Chamber of Commerce event in the state, from Sussex down to Cape May. I was all over the place, but that's how you make those relationships. And again, you have to be intentional. You have to be genuinely yourself. People can tell when you're just trying to network versus you genuinely are trying to create a connection and a relationship. And you're going to trust people more when you know them and you feel like you have a personal relationship when you're dealing with a work or business interaction. So I think I worry about the younger. I think we've gotten to a good place now, a few years after COVID, where there is that hybrid where people are doing some office and some events and some Zoom. But I think especially early on in your career, if you're not in the office and you're not out at these events, how can you get exposure to smart people who know more than you? I mean, I always say during my first internship, I learned more just sitting at the lunch table. All the guys in the firm would eat lunch, they'd go through the Star Ledger and what was on Politic or NJ that day, and I would just listen. I would just eat my Chinese food and listen, because the way that they would think through what was being covered in the Star Ledger and how they aimed out what this means that this senator is doing, and I would just listen. I learned more from just absorbing how they thought, how they strategized during their lunch, than I did it through all 4 years of college. And I love college, but it was such an amazing opportunity to sit at that table as a young woman and get to hear how they processed what was going on in state government.
I went from a career as an actuary, universally considered one of the most predictable or introverted jobs, to a completely polar opposite role. Suddenly, the only predictable thing about my day was its unpredictability. And I was completely new to the rough and tumble of New Jersey politics. It was not really clear that I belonged. My Twitter handle, honestly, @HeinsleyHell, caused my campaign colleagues, quite like rightly, to laugh out loud and, quite frankly, question my New Jersey credibility. I was a little shell-shocked being thrust into a world that I really wanted to feel like Parks and Recreation, but admittedly felt a little more like Deep, and on some days like The Sopranos. But I could sense through it all that I was supremely lucky. In the process, I found a career I felt passionate about. I was given the opportunity to work towards something positive with people that I admired. And eventually, I went on to take the role of district director in the 11th Congressional District, doing that work for almost 6 years and learning along the way that I really preferred the governing part of this work. And a really important point here is that this story, my story, only happens with a congresswoman and now governor who valued bringing new voices to the table and was willing to look in unconventional places for talent. She was open to what I had to give, in large part because we were both women in our late 40s who were trying something new. That single decision to step into something I wasn't sure I was ready for, because someone I respected believed I was, reshaped my career, my understanding of leadership, and how I think about building systems and teams today. And now there are new exciting challenges ahead, opportunities that pull from my full professional background and from volunteer roles I've held over the years. I often say it's as amazing as it is to have some of the professional credentials I have and educational credentials that I have. When I think about what has prepared me for the role that I'm in now and my role as district director, two of the things I think about are volunteering to be the PA president of my kids' school, which is a great political training ground, and managing the football team in college, which was an incredible operational logistical challenge every day that I learned from. So I think, also being really open to the skill sets that women bring, sometimes not from traditional places, because we put ourselves into so many volunteer opportunities as well, is really important to make sure we're valuing those skills. So now I serve as New Jersey's first Chief Operating Officer under Governor Sherrill, a role the governor created to make state government operate more effectively, more transparently, and more responsibly. And even though it can sometimes feel daunting, I'm really, truly awed by the privilege it is to do this work, and especially to get to do this work with all of you, especially the incredible women in this room who are being honored today. The governor's mission to deliver for New Jersey starts here. To grow the economy and build opportunities for all New Jerseyans, we need your drive, your ingenuity, your innovative thinking here in the private sector, while we, in parallel, work to build a government that works for the residents and businesses that it serves. I'm very excited to work with all of you and see where this takes all of us. Happy Women's History Month, and congratulations to all the honorees.
Thanks for staying with New Jersey Politics with Laura Jones, and we're coming to you from BINJE's Best Top Women in Business here in Woodbridge. I had the chance to speak with some of the women driving New Jersey's business community and also the organizers who made this event possible.
Well, look, the one thing that we wanted to do, and we've always wanted to do at BINJE, is create events where leaders in the business community can come together and talk and network and meet. So on the one hand, an event like this, we're looking to honor 100 fantastic women, but we also want to create a situation where the business ecosystem in the state can get together. We can make deals, we can have conversations, we can see people that we've been meaning to see, and that's going to spur something that's going to help the entire state. What I liked about this event and with the way we pick people is the diversity. And by diversity, I mean up and down the state, all different types of companies, all different sizes of companies, and women in all different parts of their career. So it's a good mixture of everybody, you know, at step 1, step 2, step 3 of all of these different parts of life. We put everyone in the room that way. It's not an echo chamber. You're starting to talk to everybody, and I think real good things for New Jersey can come from it.
This is the first time you've done something like this. What's the feedback, though, so far?
So far, so good. Well, listen, we're not even a year old. This is our 3rd BINJE Best event. This is the first one for the women. We plan on doing it every year. Again, if we can bring people together, it's one thing to report the news, it's another thing to bring the newsmakers together where they can talk to each other.
You've worked with the New Jersey Business and Industry Association. When these talks were happening and we were planning this event, can you just talk a little bit about what it is about women in business that maybe isn't talked about enough, that you're hoping to make sure that is talked about? And as you mentioned, women at all levels of business, whether they're first starting up, whether they are ending their careers, whether they are mentoring others, that you want to talk about and put on the radar, the headline, so to speak.
Well, I think you hit the nail right on the head there. It's women at all different levels of their career, working together, helping each other, finding their way forward and how they do it. And this event is a recognition of, this isn't just a women in business event. This is a business event. There are some really huge movers and shakers around the state, around the country, around the world. We have people with global in their title here, and yet we have single women entrepreneurs here too, which is the heart and soul of the state and building, as you know. So again, if we can get women of all different levels and all different areas to come together and talk about stuff, this is a business event. This isn't a women's business event.
Now, there are 100 women honored all together, but you have a panel and 12 in particular that you are singling out. Can you just talk a little bit about that?
So look, when you get a time together like this, you want to do something that makes it a little special. The hardest part about picking a top 12 is that there's a top 100 that was eligible. It was hard to pick the top 100. So what you want to do is a couple people, you want to set them apart, and not just the role they have, but what impact that role has, not just in their company, but in society. So what we want to do is give a tip of the hat to some people, but what we really want to do is make other people think, why isn't my company doing that? Why am I not doing that? If we can spur that in people, then we've really hit a home run.
Is there anything about your particular journey that you would like to share, you would like to connect, that because you're somebody who is very well known in New Jersey, that you want to make sure people know about, that maybe isn't talked about, that maybe isn't grabbing headlines?
No, absolutely. So what I say all the time is don't go through your life with blinders on. I'm an attorney by trade. My lifelong goal as a young lawyer was to be a judge. I'm very off that career path right now, and I couldn't be more happy with the opportunities and experiences. But what it meant was that as I was coming up, when an opportunity presented itself, I didn't shy away from it. I leaned into it and I said, why could that be a great opportunity for me? And it always was. So I had these great opportunities to pivot, and I've served, in government, in private sector, in public sector. I sit on a publicly traded, board right now, and I'm extremely passionate about what I do every day, advocating for business in New Jersey, because our business leaders are incredible job creators here.
There are 100 women honored here today, recognized here today. If somebody's watching this saying, hey, I'm starting out, or I've been around, I just don't know how to get traction, what advice would you have? What resources, whether it be from New Jersey Business and Industry Association or other resources within the state?
So get in the room. Right? Like, we need to find a way to get you here today, and you'll have another opportunity in September at our Women Business Leaders Forum, which we do. It'll be our 12th annual. So get in the room. Number 2, women who are in the room today are looking to mentor, whether it be formally or informally. I mean, I've had 3 calls with young women coming up in their career because I take the time to do it. 90% of the women in this room will take the time to do that as well.
Is there anything, women lifting women up, that is a very, very powerful thing. But a lot of times women will be fighting because there aren't necessarily as many seats at the table. What do you have to say to that? People who might be frustrated, or just in general, that again, isn't always talked about.
Yeah, unfortunately, women can be competitive. We've seen it, oftentimes you see it from a young age all the way up. We would always laugh. I have twins, right? And I would always say, oh, my son and his friends, they could go like punch each other in the arm and get mad at each other and then go have a beer, right? No, the girls have to just continually to like mentally kill each other and challenge them in ways I don't understand that. I think if we come together, we find that we can lift each other up. What is that? All boats rise the tide, whatever that saying is, right? I think the more we work together, the more strength that we have as a community.
And for women in particular, balancing family, career, all of these other things, it seems like women in general, not to be a stereotype, but they exist for a reason. There are a lot of things that women have to deal with that men don't in the workplace. Can you just talk a little bit about that and the support they need?
I mean, it is still the case. At NJBIA, we advocate tirelessly for access and affordability in childcare. Why? Because we need our workers to be able to come to work to be productive with their children in a safe place. Now, that has a disproportionate impact on women, and it still does. Men step up more. Now we have paternity leave. Men are taking advantage of that. That's a wonderful thing, right? But at the end of the day, it still winds up being the mom who's front line 9 out of 10 times.
The work that we do at the chamber, I certainly don't expect to be honored, but it is, I do really appreciate that, the work that we do is being recognized and people are noticing. I really appreciate being honored alongside such successful women that have been in this business for such a long time and have paved the way for so many of us. So it truly is an honor.
Have you had any women mentors who have really helped you along the path? Maybe if somebody's watching thinking, oh gosh, I'd love to be in a position like you're in one day. Anybody who's made the difference or had words of advice for you or encouragement you'd like to share?
Actually, I've only been working for about a little under 10 years now. All of my mentors have been men, but they've been fabulous mentors and they've been supportive and helped me to get where I am. So, while my mentors have been men, I look forward to being a woman mentor to other women in the future.
Yes, I'm a New Jersey native, Jersey girl, born and raised. So being in an event like this, being honored with so many incredible women means everything to me. And the best part of it is that I have so many women on this list that I know personally, that I've had the chance to work with over the years, that I'm able to celebrate with.
So can you talk a little bit about, again, as your journey here? You started out as an attorney. Well, I'll just let you say, it wasn't typically, like a woman's journey in business isn't always what we set out. So can you talk about your particular journey?
No, absolutely, and especially in sports. And I have always been a fan of sports generally. It's been such an important part of my life growing up with my family. So I knew very early on that if I could make a career in sports, it would be something I'd be very, very happy doing. And I've been fortunate to have that at HBSE in the Devils and Prudential Center, coming in as a lawyer, moving through chief of staff role, partnerships, and ultimately in business operations now.
Do you find that women are still having to work harder than your male counterparts in general?
I think it's changed a lot, even since I've been in the industry, just coming up. I'm proud to say that where we are, I'm rarely looking around the room and being the only woman in there. I'm fortunate to work with a number of incredible women at my level, at every level. So, work harder. I think we all in sports just love working hard. I think that's part of our X factor in what we do, but not necessarily need to, work harder than the men at this point. I think we have come a very long way.
Is there any message that you would like to tell women who might be watching this, who might be interested, at whatever point in their career they are at? What kind of inspired you to keep you going that you would like? What message would you like if you were mentoring somebody to tell?
That's a great question. This was very important to me when I was coming into this industry, that I saw the women ahead of me that I could look up to and know that this was something I could do. Laura Price, our COO, is someone that I admired from afar from a long time and now have the opportunity to work with. So I think it's really important, to be out there, to have events like this where we can, make sure that we're seen and heard in these roles. If you see it, you understand that it's something that you can be.
I don't think you need to have a goal. I don't think you have to say, I definitely want to be this, because I think a lot of us change over the course of our career. But I do think you have to be willing to put yourself out there. And I do think you have to be willing to ask and to say, I want to rise in the ranks. What do I need to do to get there? To say to your bosses or your colleagues, let's have a check-in every 6 months. How am I doing? What could I do better? What do I need to learn more? Those are the skills, and that kind of openness and really listening to people is what's going to get you to the next step. And the other thing that I think is important is learning how to be a really good listener. I think too many of us think if you talk a lot in a meeting, people are impressed, but the answer is that's not always true. The person who talks the most usually thinks it went the best. So if you want to impress the people around you, let them talk and just learn to listen and walk away and take what you can from that conversation.
Why is it hard a lot of times for women to advocate for themselves? We advocate for other people, whether it's our kids, our parents, if we're in the sandwich generation, we see something, we'll speak up. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't always speak up. We don't ask.
We never do. And I think women need to learn to ask. And I'll tell you something else. Most men don't like confrontation. So if you do go and ask and you say, what does it take? You might get humda-dumda because they're not comfortable. But the answer is, it's not you don't get it because as a reward. This is not I deserve. Nobody deserves. You have to go out and get it. And you have to say, I want that. I want that promotion. I want that job. I want that assignment. I want that business trip. And it is miserably difficult. But if you say it in the mirror a few times, you'll get better.
And the other thing that you mentioned during the remarks was simply showing up. That's half the game.
Yeah, I know. I said, get your tush in the office. And I know that a lot of people didn't want to hear that. And I know a lot of people say, no, it's important that I'm home and that I can work just as effectively from home and I have my bathroom and my dog. But the answer is, if you want to really move ahead, if you want to forge real relationships, if you want to really get pleasure out of what you do, it's best to do it with other people. And the way you're going to do that is by being in the office, making those relationships, learning about people's lives, finding the time to both collaborate on work and also to just be a friend and make connections. And that's what life's about, in those relationships.
I started out as an intern while I was in college and then was able to have opportunities to work on political campaigns and for organizations. And they allowed me to have seats at the table and allowed me to have a voice. And I think some of the most impactful things that I was able to learn early on in my career was just to sit there and absorb and listen to how other operatives who had more experience thought through things, strategized, how they read the news and took from it what that meant politically. And so just by being able to be exposed to smart people who've gone ahead of you, I think you can learn so much, and being really intentional and purposeful about networking and making relationships so that not only do you have confidants and people that can help you in your career, but you can learn. Even if they're not in the exact same industry, there's always something you can take away and learn.
There is something about when you meet another woman, whether it's politics, business, what have you, and you kind of connect, it's like, ooh, you get it. And I was struck by when you were talking about not just handing out a business card, but that meaningful connection. Can you just talk a little bit about that? And if there's somebody out watching this going, well, I'll just show up and I'll check the box and I'll show cards and go. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? Because that really resonated with me.
Yeah, I think that effective networking, number one, you have to show up and make sure that you go a lot of places and expose yourself to a lot of different groups and people. And like you said, it's not just about handing a business card. It's about creating a meaningful connection and relationship. And so you have to be authentically yourself. You have to show up and be open and vulnerable, and try to build a relationship that's based on like a human connection, beyond your industry connection or professional connection. And I think people can tell when you're being authentically yourself, and when you're asking them about whether it's, how's your grandkid doing, or I really like your shoes, that can be an entree to start a conversation that's more serious, but people want to know that you have that human connection first.
I think it's important for women to support women and that we're all in this together. I think that no matter where you are on the path or in your career trajectory, it's important to embrace being a woman and also embrace others around you.
In your career, did you have anybody who helped mentor you? Was there ever a moment that you'd like to share that made all the difference and that you try to pay forward, so to speak?
I think there's been a lot of moments. I really do. I don't think there's any one in particular. I tell the story sometimes that my mom was a teacher and she was strong in math, and when I was choosing what to go into, I decided that I wanted to go into business because it was an opportunity I had that she didn't. She was deciding between being an elementary school teacher or a math teacher because she was strong in math but didn't have the opportunities to go into business. So I think that was a pivotal one for me. And I think along the way there's been a lot of different people that I was a client service person that ended up becoming management, and that was a big turning point for me as well, because I felt like a lot of my earlier years were building my practice and client service and learning those tasks, and all of a sudden to be moved into management and away from that was a pivotal time as well. But it helped me to help other partners to do what I had done, and then move the whole firm forward from there.
You are being recognized today as an up-and-comer, so can you just talk a little bit about this this honor that you've been given and what it means?
It's a fantastic honor. This is my first award, actually being one for this. Usually I'm the one filling out these applications and awards for people, so it is a fantastic honor just to be represented and recognized.
Can you just talk a little bit about being a woman in business, perhaps just, certain things that women face in the workforce that maybe our male counterparts don't always have to consider and factor in? And you're in an industry that, stereotypically you would think would be male dominated.
Yeah, absolutely. I think having those stereotypes and being able to break those, break that glass ceiling, and being able to prove that across all the women in our organization, all the women here, being able to prove that, I think is really spectacular.
Is there any message that you would like to give maybe some other young women who may be here or maybe watching who are starting out, or maybe they feel like they're stalled out in their career? Do you have any successes or people who have reached out to you to mentor you that have made a difference that you would like to talk about?
I think to keep going, to keep networking. As cliche as that sounds, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what opportunity you're going to run into. And I think it's really important to keep going and to keep those doors open, because you never know which one you'll open.
And that'll do it for today. Thanks so much for watching New Jersey Politics. I'm Laura Jones. We look forward to seeing you back here next time.